In the spiritual heart of Cambodia, 5,000 Buddhist monks gather for a rare and ancient ritual. A special ceremony convened by the ruling party to bring peace and prosperity to the nation. At the majestic Angkor Wat Temple, mass prayer is believed to be the most powerful.
I'm here to wish happiness, peace, and development for my country.
Our country really needs peace. We don't want war in Cambodia.
Prime Minister Hun Sen says he wants to send a message to the rest of the world that Cambodia is not in anarchy nor in a state of war, and that things here are running smoothly.
Cambodians have enjoyed more than a generation of peacetime, and the economy is growing at a record pace. It's the kind of stability the Prime Minister wants to protect, and why last month the Supreme Court dissolved the CNRP, Cambodia's only real opposition party. Critics say it was a move designed to avoid a likely defeat in next year's election.
If you look at what happened in 2013, many of the young people turned out on the street and actually protest. But more importantly, the voting turnout was really high in 2013. And then you look at what happened early this year, during the communal election. The popular votes came very, very close, scarily close for some.
There's little trace left of the once popular CNRP. More than 100 of its members have been banned from politics for the next 5 years. Its headquarters are abandoned, and its leaders have fled the country. One supporter told us he feels lost.
We're waiting for the CNRP to get international help. Most of us just won't vote next year because we don't support the other parties.
Son Chai is one of the last opposition leaders still in Cambodia. He thinks people will eventually take to the streets.
Is it over now for the CNRP?
No. I think the CNRP is over when the people are no longer supporting the party. When they learn that the only party who represents great majority of the people and have been dissolved against their will, it makes people very, very angry. If you cannot convince people to go on your side, you don't know when the people are going to do something against you.
The ruling party's reach has always been vast. CPP posters are plastered across the country, but space for dissent is shrinking fast. Since August, nearly a dozen independent radio stations have lost their licenses, and the Cambodia Daily, a critical English-language newspaper, has been shut down. A growing number of human rights groups have also been accused of colluding with the opposition and threatened with closure.
We are surveilled, we are harassed. Many NGOs are facing legal charges, administrative sanctions. There's so little space to do just normal activities.
The Cambodian government denies it's leading a witch hunt. We met one of the CPP's only available spokesmen, who was keen to explain that his party is protecting itself against external powers trying to topple an elected majority.
The principle of democracy, the majority rule, and the minority never have a legitimacy to fight, to move any activity to against institution. They have no right to do that. The Western, they handle like a minority as an opposition party.
But you know how this looks to the outside world when NGOs are being closed down, media outlets are being silenced, and people aren't allowed by law to protest on the streets.
The media never, comply with the government rule. We ask them like years to comply, but we get more than 1,000 NGOs still working freely over here. They should talk and should share experience with those people. They are, they do, compliance to the government. they do what they want to have the Cambodia, not they plan to build up the network to topple the government from the people.
In the eyes of the West, Cambodia is going down a dark road, away from democracy. The US and European Union have already pulled electoral aid and slapped sanctions on the Prime Minister's inner circle. And now the European Parliament wants to stop tax-free imports from Cambodia. It would hurt a $5 billion garment industry, and factory workers are worried.
People are talking about it here. We make shoes to export, but if the factories close down, we will have no jobs or money to send to our family.
These women barely make ends meet as it is. After a quick bite to eat, they're all heading back to the factory to work overtime. Sunchai is hopeful the government might turn things around.
Cambodia is a unique, country. You look at this river here, I just told you, from November onward, they will flow back to this direction. So if a river can flow in both directions, and a monarchy who have been overthrown and can return to the throne, only a unique thing happened to Cambodia. So one must...
The tide can turn in politics.
Yeah, one must stay positive. I think the international community are interested enough about Cambodia that can help the leader here to at least change their mind.
Well, joining me now from the Spanish city of Seville is Mu Sokwa. She's the vice president of the dissolved opposition Cambodia National Rescue Party. And in Phnom Penh, Buntet Cham, he's the founder and president of the Young Leadership Forum. I thank you both for joining us. Mu Sokwa, it's great to have you on the program. Thanks so much for joining us. Is your party finished now that it has been dissolved by Hun Sen?
Thank you. No, it's not finished at all. To the contrary, the Cambodian National Rescue Party, the only opposition party in Cambodia, will survive because over 3 million Cambodians voted for change to remove Mr. Hun Sen democratically from power. And the people of Cambodia need change. The Cambodian National Rescue Party, my party, will continue to fight for democracy. That's the only way to put Cambodia back on track for true development, justice for our people.
Mu Sokwa, how does it work? We have Sam Rainsy outside of the country in exile. You're outside of the country in exile. We have Kem Sokha, who is in jail. And, people are hopeful that this won't lead to treason trial, but it might. And the treason charges might actually hold up. So how do you actually see a path to democratically taking power when all the odds seem to be stacked against you in the face of being completely dissolved and banned?
Because we believe in the power of the people. For 25 years, the people of Cambodia at the grassroots level have planted the seeds. And those seeds for democracy will stay and will grow bigger and bigger. We have done everything we can as Cambodians inside Cambodia. And the international community has its own commitment by signing the peace accord in 1991 to bring peace to Cambodia. The obligations, the requirements in the peace accord says that the international community, the signatories of the accord, must promote, must protect democracy and human rights, free and fair elections. That is now the time for the international community to bring up to their obligations of the Paris Peace Accord.
Okay, and we will be talking about the international community in a few minutes' time. Buntet, let me ask you about what the street thinks about the opposition. Because whether the claim is true or not, that Kem Sokha and the CNRP had been trying to push for a color revolution in Cambodia, those are the charges. They believe that this has been pushing from inside and asking the Americans and others for help. I want to ask you, do people on the streets of Phnom Penh actually believe that about the opposition and about Kem Sokha?
I don't really think so. I think people are still, they want change, but they don't want to, what I can say, take overs at the people and then we can say, a big revolution against one group and then raise up another one. Cambodian people, they just want a good job, they want economy, they want better education, they want proper life. They want a society where they have freedom to live. To say that opposition party try to revolute the society, try to take over the countries through, not through free and fair election. I don't think that would be the purpose of the opposition party, and I don't think that that's the will of the Cambodian people.
Buntet, do you believe that Hun Sen is a dictator?
I think he do things based on what he fear. Nobody is a dictator and nobody is a democrat. But when you live in a condition of fear of losing power, you can do whatever you can in order to protect yourself, to protect your own safety and position. So I don't think he really that, bad as seen as a dictator. What I see is that he live in fear, and the opposition party keep putting him and his people in fear. They are not trying to fight against the things that matter, but they attack him and attack his people personally. I think that's what he tried to do in order to protect himself and protect his people, his interests. So that's the thing he tried to do. To me, to see him as a dictator, I don't think he's that bad. But to say that his action is a little bit aggressive, I think it's aggressive. It's of course it's aggressive, but I think the fear inside him motivates him to take that kinds of aggressive action.
Okay. Musa Kwa, I know you mentioned the international community and you feel they need to live up to their obligations. You'd be interested to hear what the Cambodian government spokesperson, Sipan Pai, had to say to us. Let me tell you a little bit of what he had to say. He said the CNRP plays a role of rebellion by boycotts, choosing not to sit in the assembly, and they go around the world asking foreign governments to work against the elected Cambodian government. They also ask foreign governments to cut all assistance as well as refrain from investing in Cambodia or boycotting Cambodian products, which will work against farmers and factory workers in Cambodia's growth. Now, that's Sipan Pai, as I mentioned, the state secretary at the Office of the Council of Ministers. Musa Kwa, doesn't he have a bit of a point here? Because even our own correspondent found that factory workers, factory owners are really afraid that any international stranglehold and sanctions on the government will invariably hurt them, will invariably hurt ordinary Cambodian people.
I think what hurts more is that right now, the people of Cambodia have lost their rights, their freedom, their liberties to freedom of speech. What hurts more is that if we have Mr. Hun Sen for another 5 to 10 years, our natural resources will be sold, will be given away as land concessions, economic concessions to China, to other companies that are his cronies. What hurts more, what people fear more, is that more and more of our youth will cross the border to Thailand, to be migrant workers, undocumented workers. We are looking for solutions for real economic growth for Cambodia, for social development, for true sustainable development without having to sell Cambodia to other powers. What we want from Mr. Hun Sen is free, fair, and inclusive elections. We do not want Mr. Hun Sen to sell Cambodia to other countries. We want our people to be part of development. We want our youth to have jobs inside the country. We want our workers to work with minimum wage, with decent wage. We want our land and our farmers to have their own land. We are not talking about revolution. and the economic sanctions that will be imposed by the EU, by the United States, is not what we want. We want solutions, and that's only through free, fair, and inclusive elections, not to have us living in exile, not to have the court take us to prison without real justice, not to have a leader in jail as what is happening right now.
Right. Buntet, do you think that Hun Sen cares about the sanctions, given that, as Musa Kwa mentioned, he can turn to the Chinese and that Cambodia is doing business with the Chinese? So does he care if the United States or the European Union or both of them decide to grab hold of the economy a little bit and close things up a bit? Can't he just turn to China?
Well, I think he's already turned to China, but I don't think he really wants to take himself really away from US and European communities, because there's a lot of things that Cambodian benefit from those two major markets. I think he will put this, he will hold this a little bit tight, especially with the political situation in the countries. But to say that he will take himself away from Europe and US, I don't think so. But if the US and Europe will push him, I think that's the only choice, that he will go to China, and he already there. So he will get support from China. But Cambodia, even there's a major support from China, Cambodia will still suffer economically, politically, socially. If there's not a very good reconciliation, negotiation, talking between those three major countries, markets, and then the talk between the opposition and the ruling party, I think Cambodia will suffer automatically.
Buntet, do you think that that could still happen? I mean, we're just barely days away from 2018, and there's going to be an election in 2018. Do you think that that is still possible, that Cambodia can have a free and fair election that everybody recognizes as free and fair, where the opposition and the government are both happy that this is an even playing field and that there won't be any protests about the validity of the elections? Is that still possible, or is the 2018 election already tarnished?
Actually, the election in Cambodia, I think you can ask Madam Suk, who was there. There's never been free and fair in Cambodia. I think we got one a little bit free and fair, as quite accepted by majority of Cambodian people in 1993. But afterwards, Cambodia had never experienced a free and fair election. And to say that 2018 is going to be a very free and fair or a tarnished elections, Cambodian election they have never been free and fair, and it will never going to be free and fair again in the future. I think the only thing that those top people need to do now is that consider about free and fair election is an impossible thing right now. The things that is more possible is to figure out what is the problems that these two top political parties keep attacking and fighting one another. They are not just trying to figure out the solutions, the thing that really matters Cambodian the most. Just talking about election and then challenge for power. What are the solutions? What are the things that they've been working so hard during 1980s that can reach to Paris Peace Agreement? They need to go back to that, not just kick Prime Minister Hun Sen out from power and then replaced by another one. He's not ready to lose his power, I think. He's not ready to give up, because if he give up, he would feel that he would become the oppressed. And the current opposition party will become the oppressor, and he will become the victims. So I think the Prime Minister is not ready for free and fair election. And I think the opposition party need to play their roles to make sure that free and fair election is just start from them, so that they need to pay more attention on policies rather than just attacking the top ruling elites, you know.
Okay.
Work more on policy.
Understood. That's a root and branch approach that you want. Let me ask you, Musa Kwa, because we are running out of time, about the religious establishment, because we have Cambodia's top monastic leader. If our viewers don't know, the Supreme Patriarch Tep Vong, who endorsed the government, said the Cambodian government, led by Prime Minister Hun Sen, has done many great things that we need to appreciate. We have Buddhism, we have peace, unity, and prosperity. If we lose them, we will die. The opposition has never won an election anyway. The winner of the election is predetermined. Do you feel, Musa Kwa, do you feel let down by the religious establishment?
No, I think the institutions today in Cambodia are in the hands of Mr. Hun Sen. That's why we keep repeating the same thing. The people have made the decisions through elections, whether it's free or not free, but at least over 3 million, which is 45% of the people, have said enough is enough. Let's have free and fair elections. The monarchs, the institutions in Cambodia, the judiciary, the police, the army are all in the hands of Mr. Hun Sen. It's a one-party man, it's a one-party show. Cambodia deserves better. Democracy is the only way for Cambodia to move forward. The opposition party, members of parliament, I myself, have worked very hard to promote policy for true economic, social development that bring justice for the people of Cambodia. And that's why the opposition, with our policy, have been able to attract more and more voters. Mr. Hun Sen needs to be fair to the people, needs to be brave and compete with us, and so allow us to go back home so that we can compete freely, fairly, and peacefully so that the people can make their own choice. We are ready for that. Mr. Hun Sen has the time, so we can go back home, find a solution, national reconciliation, then avoid the sanctions imposed by the EU and by the United States, and pretty soon, maybe from Australia, from Canada, and other countries. We don't want that. We want a solution, and that solution, Mr. Hun Sen has the time to talk with us, we all talk together and find a solution for the people, which is through free, fair, and inclusive elections.
Musakwa and Buntet Cham, it's been a pleasure learning more about your country. We will continue to follow your country very keenly. I thank you both for joining us here on the Newsmakers.